but I would give about a year's pay to peek under there.
You really hit him?
Yeah.
Wow. Like, how hard did you hit him?
Would you like to see?
But since then, you've learned it's wrong to hit a talk show host.
No, not really.
The 16 most disturbing moments on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show reveal a darker side that producers desperately tried to keep from the public.
She said to you, "Do you want to pet my pussy?" And my son said that you said, "I'd love to if you'd remove that damn can."
Behind the laughter and late-night charm lay incidents so shocking that NBC executives worked overtime to bury them forever.
But you didn't want to be just known for divesting yourself of your garments.
These are the moments that changed television history and exposed the man behind America's most beloved talk show host. The Tonight Show was built on spontaneity and surprise, but some moments crossed lines that left everyone involved questioning what they had witnessed. Brooke Shields discovered this firsthand during one of her early appearances, when what should have been a harmless tribute to Johnny's comedy turned into a nightmare that nearly ended her career before it truly began. The plan seemed innocent enough. Shields' mother had convinced her teenage daughter to surprise Johnny by performing Karnak's famous pratfall entrance, the comedic stumble that had become one of Carson's signature bits. The idea was to honor the host while showcasing Brooke's willingness to embrace physical comedy, a gesture that would endear her to both Carson and his audience.
So my mom said, let's do that for Johnny and let's do it as a surprise. So they didn't tell any of the camera operators.
The decision to keep the stunt secret from the camera operators, and then even from Johnny himself, created the first layer of what would become a cascading disaster. Without proper preparation, the technical crew had no way to capture what was supposed to be a planned comedic moment, setting up a situation where reality and performance would become dangerously blurred. Shields spent hours in her dressing room practicing the fall with pillows, perfecting the timing and execution that would make the surprise work. Her mother coached her through each movement, emphasizing how much Johnny would appreciate the gesture and how it would demonstrate Brooke's understanding of his comedic sensibilities. When the moment arrived, Shields executed the pratfall flawlessly, but the cameras weren't prepared to follow her movement. She disappeared completely from the frame, leaving viewers and studio audience members with no visual confirmation that what they had witnessed was intentional. The technical failure transformed a planned comedy bit into what appeared to be a genuine accident.
Out of it, of course, everybody thinks it's real.
Yeah.
And now they feel terrible for me. And there's this picture of Johnny reaching over the desk to try to help me, and his cuffs are all the way out of his jacket.
It's so
funny.
funny.
And I'm on the ground going, they don't think this is a pratfall. They think this is real.
The confusion in the studio was immediate and overwhelming. Johnny's genuine concern, the audience's shocked silence, and the crew's frantic attempts to understand what had happened created an atmosphere of chaos that no one had anticipated. Shields found herself on the floor, realizing that her surprise had backfired in the worst possible way. Don Rickles had built his career on insult comedy, but his appearances on The Tonight Show sometimes pushed boundaries that made even seasoned television professionals uncomfortable. The fine line between roasting and cruelty became dangerously blurred during performances that revealed the darker potential of comedy when wielded without restraint. Rickles' approach to humor involved systematically dismantling his targets through personal attacks disguised as entertainment. On Carson's show, this meant turning his verbal weapons on Johnny himself, Ed McMahon, and even audience members who had no way to defend themselves against his calculated assault. The comedian's attacks weren't random or spontaneous, but carefully crafted to exploit perceived weaknesses and insecurities. He would research his targets beforehand, gathering ammunition that would allow him to strike where it would hurt most, while maintaining the pretense that everything was just good-natured fun.
19 years, John.
That's right.
Don't milk it anymore. Walk away.
During another particularly brutal appearance, Rickles spent several minutes attacking Carson's personal life, his career longevity, and his relationships with devastating precision. The jokes weren't playful ribbing between friends, but surgical strikes designed to humiliate and diminish their target while the audience laughed along. The racial undertones in some of Rickles' material crossed lines that would be unthinkable in later decades. But in the 1970s context of The Tonight Show, they were presented as acceptable entertainment. The audience's laughter served as validation for comedy that was fundamentally rooted in prejudice and stereotype.
I never liked you. I don't give a... Where you go.
You got it made now?
That's right.
The psychological impact on the targets of Rickles' attacks was often visible in real time. Carson's strained smiles, McMahon's uncomfortable laughter, and the nervous energy in the studio revealed that what was being presented as harmless fun was actually causing genuine distress to those involved. The carefully controlled environment of The Tonight Show occasionally erupted into genuine conflict when guests decided they had endured enough humiliation or disrespect. Wayne Newton's confrontation with Johnny Carson backstage represented one of the most explosive moments in the show's history, revealing how resentment could build over years of perceived slights and professional attacks. Newton had been the target of Carson's jokes for years, with the host regularly making comments about the singer's voice, his Las Vegas persona, and his general credibility as an entertainer. What Carson may have seen as harmless ribbing, Newton experienced as systematic professional sabotage that was damaging his reputation and career prospects. The breaking point came when Carson's jokes crossed from professional criticism into personal territory that Newton could no longer tolerate. The accumulation of years of on-air ridicule had created a resentment that finally demanded direct confrontation, regardless of the potential consequences for Newton's career.
You really hit him?
Yeah.
Wow. Like, how hard did you hit him?
Would you like to see?
No, I don't.
Newton's decision to drive to NBC and confront Carson in his office represented a complete breakdown of the normal protocols that govern celebrity interactions. The move was both desperate and dangerous, as it could have resulted in Newton being banned from not just The Tonight Show, but potentially other NBC programs as well. The confrontation itself was swift and shocking. Newton entered Carson's office while the host was meeting with his producer, demanded privacy, and then delivered his message in the most direct way possible. The physical altercation that followed shattered the illusion of civility that surrounded The Tonight Show's public persona.
And he turned pale, and I told him what my intentions were, and he wouldn't get up.
Carson's response to being struck revealed his own shock at having his authority challenged so directly. The host, accustomed to controlling every aspect of his show's environment, found himself powerless in the face of genuine anger from someone who had been pushed too far. Rodney Dangerfield's appearances on The Tonight Show often revealed the comedian at his most vulnerable, but they also exposed how Carson could exploit a guest's personal struggles for entertainment. The relationship between the two performers became increasingly uncomfortable as Dangerfield's self-deprecating humor crossed into territory that seemed genuinely self-destructive. Dangerfield's comedy was built on a foundation of genuine pain and insecurity, and his appearances on Carson's show often pushed those emotional wounds to their breaking point. What should have been supportive interactions between colleagues instead became exercises in psychological cruelty disguised as entertainment. Carson's treatment of Dangerfield revealed his inability to recognize when comedy had become something darker and more damaging. The host's responses to Dangerfield's increasingly desperate attempts at humor showed a callousness that was disturbing to witness.
And I'm not a ladies' man, that's why. You kidding? I know I'm ugly. I stuck my head out the window, got arrested for mooning.
The audience's laughter at Dangerfield's self-deprecating jokes masked the genuine pain that drove his comedy. His willingness to humiliate himself for laughs created an atmosphere where cruelty was mistaken for entertainment and where personal suffering became a source of public amusement. The most troubling aspect of these appearances wasn't Dangerfield's willingness to expose his vulnerabilities, but Carson's apparent enjoyment of his guest's emotional pain. The host's reactions suggested someone who took pleasure in witnessing another person's psychological struggles.
Lost a little weight seriously, haven't you?
Yes, I have lost some weight. Usually that happens before you're going to pass away.
The long-term impact of these interactions extended beyond the immediate discomfort they caused. contributing to a culture where personal pain was commodified for entertainment and where genuine human suffering was treated as material for comedy rather than occasions for compassion. Dolly Parton's appearances on The Tonight Show became notorious for Johnny Carson's increasingly inappropriate behavior, as the host seemed unable to resist making sexual comments and suggestions that left his guests visibly uncomfortable while audiences laughed along. The country music superstar found herself having to navigate conversations that focused almost exclusively on her physical attributes rather than her musical accomplishments. Carson's fixation on Parton's appearance began from her very first appearance and only intensified over time. Each subsequent visit brought more elaborate setups and increasingly bold comments that pushed the boundaries of acceptable television behavior. The host seemed to view Parton as an object for his entertainment, rather than a serious artist deserving of professional respect. The most disturbing moment came when Carson made his infamous comment about paying to see underneath Parton's clothing. The remark crossed every boundary of professional conduct and revealed the predatory nature of his behavior toward female guests.
But I would give about a year's pay to peek under there.
The audience's enthusiastic response to Carson's sexual harassment only encouraged more extreme behavior. Their laughter served as validation for conduct that was fundamentally inappropriate and demeaning, creating an environment where such behavior was normalized and celebrated.
People are always asking if they're real and...
Parton's attempts to deflect Carson's advances while maintaining her professional composure demonstrated the impossible position that female guests were placed in. They had to endure inappropriate behavior while appearing grateful for the opportunity to appear on the show. The power dynamic between Carson and his guests made it nearly impossible for women to object to his behavior directly. The Tonight Show appearance was often crucial for promoting new projects or maintaining career momentum, creating a situation where enduring inappropriate behavior was seen as the price of admission to the entertainment industry's most important platform. The normalization of this behavior on such a high-profile platform had far-reaching effects, creating an environment where similar conduct was seen as acceptable throughout the entertainment industry and where women were expected to tolerate sexual harassment as part of their professional obligations. Sophia Loren's appearance on The Tonight Show became one of the most uncomfortable displays of Carson's inappropriate behavior toward female guests. As the host used props and plan bits to create tension that placed the international star in an impossible position. The evening began with Carson presenting Lauren with what he claimed was a thoughtful gift based on something she had mentioned in her autobiography. The setup was elaborate and calculated. Carson had read that Lauren always wore something red for good luck, and he used this personal detail as an excuse to present her with red lingerie during the interview. The moment was designed to create maximum embarrassment while giving Carson plausible deniability about his intentions. Carson's insistence that Loren model the garter on television crossed professional boundaries in ways that would be unthinkable by modern standards. The host's behavior revealed his willingness to use any excuse to sexualize and objectify his female guests.
Yes, since I was born, I always wear with me something red because it brings me luck.
You said every day of your life, something...
Every day of my life.
You wear red whether it is seen or Okay. You said you do, but I thought just in case you
No.
forgot.
Oh, where is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, now, you see, I want you to understand it may be a little presumptuous.
Carson's manipulation of the situation demonstrated his skill at creating scenarios where female guests had no choice but to participate in their own objectification. Lauren's discomfort was visible throughout the segment as she tried to navigate Carson's increasingly inappropriate suggestions while maintaining her dignity and professional composure. Her attempts to redirect the conversation toward her work or personal experiences were consistently undermined by Carson's determination to focus on sexual innuendo. The audience's enthusiastic response to Carson's behavior validated his approach and encouraged him to push boundaries even further. The live television format meant that there was no opportunity to edit out moments that went too far, leaving Loren to handle an impossible situation in real time. The long-term impact of these moments extended far beyond the immediate discomfort they cause, establishing precedents for how women in entertainment could be treated and create environments where sexual normalized and celebrated as legitimate entertainment. Sally Field's appearance on The Tonight Show devolved into a physical altercation involving shaving cream that revealed how quickly Carson's interactions with female guests could spiral out of control. What began as playful banter about her relationship with Burt Reynolds quickly escalated into a situation where professional boundaries were completely abandoned. Field had come prepared with advice from Reynolds about how to handle Carson, including suggestions about being aggressive and engaging in physical comedy. However, the advice proved to be either misguided or deliberately designed to create chaos, as the evening quickly became more about Carson's desire to engage in inappropriate physical contact than about promoting Field's work. The conversation took an uncomfortable turn when Field openly discussed her sexual relationship with Her candid admission seemed to unleash something predatory in Carson's behavior, as he immediately began pushing for more intimate details and physical interaction.
How would you describe your relationship with Burt?
Lovers.
Oh, lovers?
The situation escalated when Field, following Reynolds' advice to be physically aggressive with Carson, began a shaving cream fight that caught the host completely off guard. Rather than Carson being the instigator of inappropriate physical contact, it was Field who crossed professional boundaries by covering him with shaving cream during the live broadcast.
I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, I'm short, I'm cute, and I'm all of that. I could come over here and I could...
What is going on with it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I could do that, you know, and I mean, there's no way...
The shaving cream was presented as spontaneous fun, but it represented a complete breakdown of the professional decorum that typically governed television interviews. Field's willingness to physically attack her host, even in a playful context, demonstrated how Reynolds' advice had encouraged behavior that was inappropriate for a television appearance. Carson's shock at being covered in shaving cream was evident as he tried to manage the situation while maintaining his composure. The host found himself in the unusual position of being the victim rather than the perpetrator of inappropriate physical contact during an interview. The studio audience's enthusiastic response to Field's physical assault masked the underlying inappropriateness of what was occurring. The live television format meant that there was no way to stop the situation once it began, leaving Carson to navigate an increasingly chaotic encounter while trying to regain control of his show. Field's and Carson demonstrated that the show's culture of inappropriate conduct had infected everyone involved, creating situations where normal professional standards no longer applied. Tommy Smothers' on-air walkout during a 1978 appearance represented one of the most visible breakdowns of The Tonight Show's carefully maintained facade. What began as a routine comedy bit between the Smothers brothers quickly devolved into genuine frustration and embarrassment that spilled over into the television performance itself, revealing the awkward dynamics that could emerge when guests struggled to connect with Carson's comedic sensibilities. The incident started with what should have been a simple comedy routine about a classic vaudeville bit called "What Kind of Dog Is It?" However, the execution of the routine became increasingly confused and uncomfortable as Tommy struggled to explain the setup, while his brother Dick Smothers grew visibly frustrated with the material's failure to land with either Carson or the audience. Dick Smothers, Tommy's younger brother and longtime comedy partner in the famous Smothers Brothers duo, had built his career on playing the straight man to Tommy's more scattered persona. Their act traditionally featured Tommy as the bumbling older brother, while Dick provided the logical counterpoint, but this dynamic became painfully real during their Carson appearance.
That's not funny, John. That's an old joke. It's historically interesting, but it's not funny.
Yeah, but see, but we could, let's just do it.
Well, you already gave the punchline. Even if we did do it, you can't do it now. They heard the joke.
Dick's blunt assessment of the routine's failure was delivered with the kind of brutal honesty that only comes from decades of working with a family member. His dismissal of Tommy's attempt to present the classic comedy bit revealed the professional tensions that existed between the brothers behind their public persona as a harmonious comedy team. The situation deteriorated further as Tommy's attempts to salvage the routine only made things worse. His confusion about the setup and his inability to deliver the punchline effectively created an increasingly awkward situation that Carson seemed powerless to rescue, while Dick's exasperation became more visible with each failed attempt. Carson's own discomfort with the failing routine was evident as he tried to help salvage the situation while maintaining his professional composure. The host found himself caught between two brothers whose professional relationship was clearly strained, creating an atmosphere of genuine tension that was impossible to disguise. Tommy's ultimate decision to abandon the routine entirely demonstrated the level of embarrassment and frustration that had built up during the failed comedy attempt. His walkout wasn't a protest against Carson's treatment, but rather an acknowledgement that the situation had become too uncomfortable to continue, revealing how even seasoned performers like the Smothers Brothers could experience professional breakdowns on live television when family dynamics intersected with career pressures. Joan Rivers' departure from The Tonight Show to host her own late-night program led to a public fallout with Carson that would last for the rest of his life, revealing the vindictive and controlling aspects of his personality that he usually kept hidden from public view. The conflict exposed how Carson viewed loyalty and betrayal in deeply personal terms that had nothing to do with professional relationships or business decisions. Rivers had been one of Carson's most frequent guest hosts and was widely considered his chosen successor for The Tonight Show.
To replace sex. I'm using my coil now as a roach clip. I mean, it's...
Her decision to accept Fox's offer to host her own competing program was seen by Carson as the ultimate betrayal, despite the fact that such career moves were completely normal in the entertainment industry. Carson's reaction to Rivers' departure was swift and brutal. He immediately banned her from appearing on The Tonight Show and reportedly never spoke to her again, maintaining his grudge for decades until his retirement. The vindictive response revealed a side of Carson's personality that few guests had experienced directly. The personal nature of Carson's reaction demonstrated his inability to separate professional relationships from personal loyalty. Rivers' crime wasn't poor performance or unprofessional behavior, but rather the audacity to pursue her own career interests without Carson's permission or approval. The incident revealed the controlling environment that Carson had created around The Tonight Show, where loyalty to him personally was more important than professional competence or audience appeal. Guests and staff members learned that challenging Carson's authority or competing with his interests could result in permanent banishment. Rivers' treatment became a cautionary tale for other performers who might consider similar career moves. The message was clear. Carson's approval was necessary for continued success in late-night television, and crossing him could result in career-ending consequences. The long-term impact of this conflict extended far beyond the immediate participants, establishing patterns of control and retribution that influenced how late-night television operated for decades. Carson's vindictive response to Rivers' departure demonstrated that personal loyalty was more important to him than professional relationships or business considerations. The most disturbing aspect of this incident wasn't the initial conflict, but Carson's refusal to reconcile or move past his anger, maintaining his grudge until the end of his career, and demonstrating a level of vindictiveness that was shocking even by entertainment industry standards. Jane Fonda's appearance on The Tonight Show took an unexpected turn when the actress decided to share a sexually explicit story that had been circulating about Carson himself, creating one of the most uncomfortable moments in the show's history. Rather than being the victim of Carson's inappropriate behavior, Fonda became the instigator of a deeply awkward exchange that caught the host completely off guard. The incident began innocuously enough, with Fonda engaging in typical celebrity banter with Carson. However, the conversation took a shocking turn when she decided to confront him about a legendary story involving Zsa Gabor that had become part of Hollywood folklore, demonstrating how Carson's reputation for crude humor had become so well established that guests felt comfortable bringing up explicit content. Fonda's decision to share the infamous cat story on live television revealed how stories about Carson's inappropriate behavior had become common knowledge within the entertainment community. Her willingness to repeat the suggestive anecdote suggested that such content was considered acceptable discussion material for The Tonight Show.
And she said to you, "Do you want to pet my pussy?" And my son said that you said, "I'd love to if you'd remove that damn..."
The explicitness of Fonda's retelling was shocking even by The Tonight Show's standards. Her casual delivery of the sexual window demonstrated how normalized such content had become in the show's environment, while also revealing her own comfort with sharing inappropriate material on live television. Carson's obvious discomfort with having this particular story brought up on his own show was evident in his stammered response in attempts to deflect the conversation. For once, he found himself on the receiving end of inappropriate sexual content rather than being the one initiating such exchanges. The audience's enthusiastic response to Fonda's story validated her decision to share explicit content, demonstrating how the show's culture had created an environment where sexual stories were not only tolerated, but actively encouraged and celebrated. Raquel Welch's appearances on The Tonight Show exemplified how Carson reduced accomplished actresses to sex objects, focusing exclusively on their physical attributes while ignoring their professional achievements and artistic contributions. Welch's experience revealed the systematic way that Carson objectified female guests, particularly those who had been labeled as by the media. From the moment Welch appeared on the show, Carson's commentary focused on her appearance, her clothing, and her status as a rather than her work as an actress or her thoughts on any substantive topics. The host seemed incapable of engaging with her as anything other than a sex object designed for his and the audience's visual pleasure. Carson's treatment of Welch as nothing more than a beautiful object demonstrated his inability to see women as complete human beings with thoughts, feelings, and professional accomplishments worth discussing. His reductive approach to interviewing female guests revealed deep-seated sexism disguised as entertainment. Welch's attempts to discuss her career decisions and professional standards were consistently undermined by Carson's determination to focus on and innuendo. When she mentioned her refusal to pose for Playboy magazine, Carson treated this as an opportunity for more sexual commentary rather than respecting her professional boundaries. The actress's discomfort with being reduced to a symbol was evident throughout the interview, but Carson seemed either unaware of or unconcerned with her feelings about being objectified. His behavior demonstrated a complete lack of empathy for how his treatment affected his female guests, psychologically and professionally. The audience's enthusiastic response to Carson's objectification of Welch validated his approach and encouraged him to continue treating female guests as sexual objects rather than serious professionals. The live television format meant that Welch had no choice but to endure this treatment while maintaining her composure. The most troubling aspect of Carson's treatment of Welch wasn't just the immediate inappropriateness, but the way it normalized the objectification of women in entertainment, establishing expectations that female performers would tolerate being reduced to sexual objects as the price of career advancement. Vanessa Williams' historic achievement as the first Black Miss America in 1984 was immediately undermined by Johnny Carson's racist commentary, which suggested that her victory was only possible due to racial favoritism rather than merit. The incident revealed the casual racism that permeated Carson's comedy and the way he used his platform to reinforce harmful stereotypes about Black achievement. Carson's joke about Williams' victory wasn't an off-the-cuff remark, but a calculated comment that reflected his assumptions about race and competition. His suggestion that a Black judge was responsible for Williams' win implied that she couldn't have achieved this historic milestone based on her own qualifications and performance. The racist commentary came during Carson's monologue following Williams' crowning, when he made jokes suggesting that the judging had been influenced by racial considerations rather than merit. The comments revealed his inability to accept that a black woman could legitimately win such a prestigious competition. The audience's laughter in response to Carson's racist joke provided validation for prejudiced thinking and helped normalize attitudes that were already causing real harm to people of color in entertainment and beyond. The Tonight Show's platform gave these prejudices a mainstream respectability that influenced public opinion far beyond the show itself. Williams' experience with Carson's racism was part of a broader pattern of discrimination and harassment that she faced throughout her reign as Miss America. The constant questioning of her legitimacy and qualifications demonstrated how difficult it was for black women to achieve recognition in predominantly white institutions. Carson's behavior toward Williams was particularly damaging because of his enormous influence on popular culture and public opinion. His racist commentary contributed to an atmosphere where Williams's achievement was consistently undermined and her qualifications were constantly questioned. The incident revealed how Carson used humor as a weapon to maintain racial hierarchies and reinforce stereotypes about black inferiority. His jokes weren't harmless entertainment, but active participation in systems of oppression that made success more difficult for minority performers. The long-term impact of Carson's racist commentary extended far beyond the immediate harm to Williams, contributing to an environment where black achievement was consistently devalued and questioned. His behavior established patterns that would influence how minorities were treated in entertainment for decades to come. The most disturbing aspect of this incident wasn't just the immediate racist commentary, but the way it was normalized and accepted as legitimate humor, demonstrating how mainstream platforms could be used to perpetuate and validate prejudiced attitudes that cause real harm to marginalized communities. Ed McMahon's role as Carson's sidekick extended far beyond providing laughs and musical introductions to include actively enabling and covering up his host's most problematic behavior. McMahon's complicity in Carson's inappropriate conduct made him an essential part of the system that protected the show's reputation while allowing harmful behavior to continue unchecked. McMahon's nervous laughter during Carson's most inappropriate moments served to normalize behavior that should have been challenged or stopped. His refusal to intervene when Carson crossed professional boundaries sent a clear message that such conduct was acceptable and even encouraged within the Tonight Show's environment. The sidekick's role in deflecting uncomfortable moments and redirecting conversations away from Carson's inappropriate behavior demonstrated his skill at damage control. McMahon had perfected the art of making inappropriate conduct seem harmless through his reactions and responses. McMahon's financial dependence on Carson created a situation where challenging his host's behavior could have resulted in career suicide. This power dynamic ensured that McMahon would continue to enable problematic conduct regardless of his personal feelings about its appropriateness. The long-term psychological toll of enabling Carson's behavior was evident in McMahon's later struggles with alcohol and depression. The constant stress of managing his host's unpredictable and often inappropriate conduct while maintaining a cheerful public persona created an unsustainable situation that affected his mental health. McMahon's complicity extended beyond simply failing to intervene to actively participating in the cover-up of incidents that could have damaged Carson's reputation. His loyalty to Carson superseded any concerns about the welfare of guests or staff members who were harmed by the host's behavior. The enabling relationship between Carson and McMahon established patterns that would influence late-night television for decades, creating an environment where sidekicks were expected to protect their hosts regardless of the consequences for others. The most troubling aspect of McMahon's complicity wasn't his failure to intervene in individual incidents, but his role in creating and maintaining a system that prioritized Carson's comfort and reputation over the safety and dignity of everyone else involved in the show's production. The most disturbing aspect of The Tonight Show's dark moments wasn't the incidents themselves, but the sophisticated system that NBC developed to cover them up, silence witnesses, and protect Johnny Carson's reputation at all costs. The network's machinery for managing scandal became a template for how the entertainment industry would handle similar problems for decades to come. NBC's investment in Carson was so enormous that protecting him became more important than protecting the people who worked with him or appeared on his show. The network developed sophisticated systems for managing information, controlling narratives, and ensuring that potentially damaging stories never reached the public. Guests who had negative experiences were often pressured to remain silent through a combination of professional incentives and subtle threats. The Tonight Show's power to make or break careers meant that speaking out against Carson could result in being blacklisted from not just his show, but other important entertainment platforms as well. The show's security and public relations teams worked constantly to monitor potential threats to Carson's reputation, intercepting stories before they could reach the media and discrediting sources who might pose problems. This level of information control was unprecedented for a television variety show, but became necessary as the incidents multiplied. Staff members who witnessed disturbing incidents were required to sign increasingly restrictive confidentiality agreements that prevented them from discussing their experiences even years after leaving the show. These legal barriers ensured that many of the most troubling moments would never be publicly revealed. The complicity of other celebrities in maintaining Carson's protective bubble was perhaps the most troubling aspect of the entire system. Stars who witnessed inappropriate behavior chose to remain silent in order to preserve their own access to the Tonight Show platform, prioritizing their careers over the welfare of others. The long-term consequences of this culture of secrecy extended far beyond Carson's own career, establishing patterns of enabling and cover-up that would influence the entertainment industry for decades. The precedent set by The Tonight Show's approach to managing scandal would be repeated countless times as other powerful figures learned they could escape accountability through careful information management. The most tragic aspect of these cover-up efforts wasn't just the immediate harm they caused, but the way they prevented any accountability or meaningful change, ensuring that the patterns of abuse and exploitation would continue long after Carson's retirement from television. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.